I'm BJ. Welcome back to your weekly whiskey and all things barrel age podcast. And tonight we're going to go.
Hold on. Tonight, look at what we're at. We need to just address the.
I was going to glaze over it and just be like, tonight we're going to keep moving on. But since you brought it up, tonight we shifted positions in the Barrel Buddies studio.
We're still having technical issues.
And why is that, James?
We have so many technical issues. I think there's a curse that there's a cloud of technical curses that is someone of some other channel maybe has cursed us. Someone has gone to a person and said, hey, the Barrel Buddies, take a little voodoo doll and just because we have not been able to get our camera to work. We've had camera problems, cable problems, power problems. Last week, we had just every problem under the sun, tried to address it through the week. We got it working on the laptop. And then lo and behold, Murphy's Law, tonight, we get on it. Doesn't work.
I guess what James is trying to say is we're very sorry for not having a show last week. And we're very sorry that the quality of the show this week is a little substandard.
With that being said, Patrick Curry, welcome. Good to
Barrel
see you. So we decided that, we need to bring it back full circle. And you said it looks good now. Thank you, Uncle Punky, and welcome. We wanted to bring it back to basics. And what I mean by that is it's Pappy season. So for most of you that don't know, November.
It's B-Tax season.
B-Tax season, otherwise known as
Pappy
season. So during the month of November, as most of you know, the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection is released. And of course, actually from this year forward, they have promised us, most of the big players and distilleries, that they have had more availability this year. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all of you out there on your hunt should be able to find these bottles. Maybe more availability. I'm not saying you're going to find it on the shelf, but you may... there may be more raffles at your local liquor store. There may be more bundles of buying some crap with that bottle at your local liquor store. Wheatley vodka, no hate, or Fireball, just to get some plans, but we won't go there. Anyway,
sell what you got to sell. Get it.
Exactly. So with that being said, we decided to start with Weller, the Weller collection, right? And one of the first Wellers that is in the line and kind of on their what they call their lower end. I don't think this is low end under any circumstance.
Not at all.
Is Weller's Special Reserve.
The one, the only, the Special Reserve. Delightful. I like this bottle. This is the green label, the original wheated bourbon. We're talking about 45% alcohol, 90 proof. And it has this great story on the back that William LaRue Weller was born in Kentucky in the year of 1825. After serving with the Louisville Brigade in the 1840s, Weller returned to Louisville to open his wholesale liquor business. He is reported to have used the slogan, honest whiskey at an honest price. And his wheated recipe bourbon had a softer, smoother taste that became very popular. Pappy Van Winkle eventually merged Weller's namesake company with the A.P.H. Stitzel Distillery to form the Stitzel Weller Distillery. And this delicate bourbon with hints of caramel and honey honors one of whiskey's first American pioneers.
So you know that part of the story is that William LaRue Weller hired Julian Van Winkle, who would later end up becoming known as Pappy Van Winkle, and he began his career working for Weller. And then Weller, William LaRue Weller, passed in 1899, and coincidentally, his company, Weller and Sons, merged with Stitzel Distillery, and then it was owned by Julian Pappy Van Winkle, and then it eventually became the Stitzel Weller Distilling Company in 1935. So just a little history lesson for our aficionados out there.
The more you know.
Edit that in post?
No.
Come on.
It was better that way.
What a nose on this. So many people take big, huge doo-doos on this. And
no,
I don't know
why? Why? This is one of my top 5 whiskeys. This is one of my top 5 pours. As hypey as it is, and as much hate as I'm going to get for that, This is one of my top 5 pours. I think that this is a great.
You're going to get a lot of hate for that.
I know.
People are so polarized by Special Reserve.
I know, because they're like, oh, there's so many better. Weller 12 and Antique 105 and the full proof. I love this. I actually like this better than 12 year. I think this is a million times better than 12.
Oh, I'm with you. I think 12 is over oak. It's like an oak stick. You just suck on a oak stave. Anyway, here's what I think. I think that there's a subconscious thought that when a bottle, let's say, 2020 pricing for this was like $25 MSRP.
30. I'd give you 30.
Yeah. So, and it probably hasn't changed much. Well, it has changed a lot. It's probably up to 40 now, but
45.
You're looking at that like really, really low end price point where I think people kind of have that preconceived notion that, oh, it's got to be terrible if it's so cheap.
No, no, that's the thing.
That's not the case. Brown water, guys, is cheap. All around, it's dirt cheap to produce. The cost is the time and effort it takes sitting in a barrel, taking up space for years and years and years. But the product itself is really incredibly inexpensive.
And greetings to you, Sub 1K.
Sub 1K, welcome to the show.
So for those of you that are maybe new to this, we do watch the chat, and we love to say hello to our returning members. So the way Weller Special Reserve was always explained to me was Weller's Special Reserve is not the greatest whiskey you're ever going to have, but it may be the greatest whiskey you're ever going to have for $30.
Exactly.
And I kind of agree with that. I still think that even at $45, this is an amazing bottle of whiskey. I think this is very good bourbon. It comes from a very good pedigree. And
absolutely. You think about this, right? The same mash bill is used in some amazing Weller products that I'm sure some of you may not even know that you've already had. You're like, oh yeah, William.
Can we look up the mash bill? I'd actually be really interested.
So
it's got corn.
I did some digging, right? But they actually call it the Buffalo Trace wheated mash bill. They don't give specifics, just corn, wheat, and malted barley.
So we know it's at least 51% corn.
Right.
And then some blend of wheat and barley. I'm going to guess pretty high in wheat. I'd probably go 20%. And I'd probably bump your corn up to... I bet the corn in this is probably somewhere close to 76%. And then
you said
a small amount of barley.
Wheat's not primary. Wheat's secondary. Right. So corn 51.
Like 76%.
Oh, you think it's like really high?
I think it's high corn.
Coming in. I got
you're going to get like a 20% wheat. That's pretty high in wheat for wheated bourbon. That's going to smooth it out and keep it really sweet and really mellow. And then you're going to make up that difference in some sort of barley malt.
Yeah.
That's just, and that's for
sense.
color, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be for color.
And back to your earlier comment about it, people want to say, you say cheap bourbon. Again, you're like, oh, cheap bourbon. It's got to be terrible, right? I think a better term to use is it's a great budget bourbon, right? So for the price point, even now you say $40 MSRP. If you guys see it out there, get it. So I would say that this is fairly widely distributed across the United States. A lot of I will call them fans and people that we've talked to in the show say that sometimes if you can see Special Reserve sitting on the shelf in a lot of places, Texas, Ohio, New England, there's a lot of like shelfies of like Special Reserve. Some people like right now, I think secondary liquor store price is around $70 a bottle. What do you think about that? What if you saw a bottle for $69.99, would you pick it up? This bottle?
No. Well, actually, I don't know about
based on the somewhat scarcity and sort of hard to find.
So what I was going to tell you about being a budget bourbon, I don't know that I'd call it a budget bourbon. I think that this is maybe a good budget trophy. I would put this in a trophy category. I think that for those of you that are out there looking to hunt a bourbon, this is a fairly easy bourbon to hunt. And it should be a bourbon that if you find out at your local liquor store in the wild, as you might say, you should pick it up and you should be very proud to find it.
Absolutely.
You should go, oh man, I got a good one. And I think you should be really happy about that. $70, I think, is double MSRP for this bottle. Or maybe somewhere between MSRP and secondary. And I don't know that I would pick it up for $70. I think I'd be excited to see it.
What's your breaking price point? how high would it be to where is like your limit 50? Say you saw it for 50. Is that enough?
I know this is going to sound so cheapy, right? Because what's the difference of $10? But
Well, then you quantify it again and say, what's the difference if it was 40 to 60?
right, what's the difference in $20? I think 60 would be my breaking.
Okay.
I think
All
if
right.
I saw it for 60, I would probably go, ooh, do I have any at home?
Yeah.
Is it worth picking up?
Yeah, I'd be with you there.
Have I seen it recently? Do I think I can go get it? So for 60, I'd probably pick it up. And
To your point,
even
though,
at 70, I might do the same thing.
Sure, but to your point, it's a trophy bottle, right?
It's a trophy bottle.
So I think it's a mini flex. It's a mini
definitely.
flex to have on your bar.
Definitely, this is a mini flex for anybody that knows bourbon, anybody who watches the Barrel Buddies. Now you know too. If you see a Weller Special Reserve, I think you should call somebody out. If you see this in somebody's bar, you should be like, oh wow, the Special Reserve, very nice bottle.
Yeah,
like give them some shine up their ego a little bit. You know, they may have worked really hard to get that bottle. They may have traded for it. I also think this is a great kicker if you're doing trades.
Definitely,
this is a good kicker bottle.
If you need to lock in a trade and somebody's like on the fence and you're like,
oh, I'll throw you a bottle.
WSR, I'll throw a little Special Reserve in there, and
usually
I would say like 9 out of 10 times.
I think that's a good kicker.
It's a great trade.
We're like, oh, you know why? Because you'll never feel bad about opening and drinking this.
Not at all.
It's a trophy bottle,
or trading it away,
opening it, and being like, oh man, let's have a Weller Special Reserve.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. With all that, let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk a little nose. Let's talk a little palate. Yeah, I mean, classic sweet bourbon.
You get that sweet wheat. I hate to say that.
That's what it is, though. It's the wheat. It's the wheat that gives it that nice sweet, nose.
Vanilla, honey. You get the honey. Very classic bourbon notes.
Classic,
right?
very sweet,
That's
even,
it feels
mellow.
So good to get back to just classic bourbon on this show, Beach. Like I feel real good about it.
I mean, if we look back 2 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure we did a classic bourbon.
I don't remember. Days just are all blur nowadays. All right, here we go. Well, cheers. Cheers, friends. Let us know what you're drinking in the chat if you're joining us for a little beverage here.
And at 45%, it drinks easy. That drinks easy.
You get a little bit of an astringent punch right up front, which is kind of weird, actually.
It's got a bite. It's got a bite.
Let me get into it. As you all know, we follow the 3-sip rule around here. So number 1, that first sip is going to be the shock to your palate. No matter what proof it is, it could be 20 proof schnapps or 20% 40 proof schnapps. It could be, I don't know, 60 proof, whatever, not 60 proof, 60 ABV. What's wrong with me tonight? I can't get my words straight.
Are you having a stroke? Are you?
It's like,
do you smell toast?
Copper. I taste copper pennies.
I think we need to quit this show.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. So I think that like a nose on this, the 3-sip rule, you get a quick shock to the palate, but it's very, very subtle. Then the second sip, you're really starting to understand what you're getting into. And by that 3rd sip, your palate's adjusted and you're really getting the true flavors behind what you're drinking. And man, with this one, that first sip, but here we go on number 2. A little bit of oak. I get a little tiny, like that oak barrel, like you're kind of licking a wood stave, but I get the classics, the honey, caramel, vanilla, very, very traditional, easy sipping.
I think that oak gives a nice spicy backbone.
Yeah, but it's not, so I think spice is I don't know that I would use spice.
I'd tell you to chew on it. Give it a chew.
You know me, I don't like to chew.
I know, but I think that because this is so light, I think this is a great bourbon to actually give a little bit of a chew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to find a little spice.
Moving on here, Sub 1K's drink some Glenlivet. I'm guessing that's Caribbean cask.
Probably.
Sub 1K.
Well, as usual, the
usual Glen
is a Caribbean cask. So cheers to you, Bobby.
Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. This is also one of those that, you don't have to feel, you can make somebody feel really special, I think.
Oh, as a gift, holiday season?
A nice holiday gift. A good birthday gift.
Dude, I would love if someone gave me a Weller Special Reserve, I'd take that gift for days.
Every time you give me a Special Reserve, I'm like, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's like a gift that
'Cause
keeps
I love
on
it.
giving. Yeah, I think you can always give it to somebody and they'd appreciate
I
it.
think you can pour this too, like as a nice after dinner. This is a perfect after dinner pour because it's going to be easy on the stomach. It's
Yeah.
going to be easy on the palate. Whatever you ate, it's not super heavy. So this is a nice after dinner pour. I would drink this as an after dinner bourbon, as like a dessert. And I think anybody that got this, you're like, oh, I'm pouring you a Weller Special Reserve. This is kind of a hard to get bourbon. It's going to be
Yeah.
really nice. And anybody who's got an appreciation for spirits, whiskey, I think they're going to find a liking for this. This is very unoffensive, and it makes you love. Like, this reminds me why I love bourbon.
Let me ask you this as like a random question. Do you think that this would be a good intro whiskey? Like for somebody like you were kind of, I thought you were kind of getting there with your previous statement, but do you think that you could like take somebody that's not a bourbon drinker and give them, would you put Weller Special Reserve on that list of, I think I can get this person into bourbon?
That's interesting. Like when we talk about some intro whiskeys in the past, we've talked about introing people with Evan Williams and Wild Turkey 101.
Yep. Elijah Craig.
I would put this right in that category.
Okay, all right. I'm with you. I actually am agreeing here.
I think that you could line up Tom Bowley and the Stakeout. We've been talking about doing maybe doing some sort of a flight, and I think this would fall right into a great flight.
This would fall.
Excuse me, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a cold or something.
Maybe.
I got a little
Stakeout.
We're really looking to do some sort of a flight.
Shout out to our friends at the Stakeout.
Maybe some sort of an Elijah Craig and an Evan Williams, and maybe a high-end Weller pour. I really think that's so well.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? So out of that, say that top 5 budget bourbon list, I think this can be the dessert course, right? This is
I think you'd lead up to that.
You lead up to Weller Special Reserve, and you'd be like, all right, now you've had the everydays. Yeah. And now here's Weller, Special Weller. And let's highlight another comment here. So,
hey,
Zach, we got Zach.
Hey, Zach.
Joining us.
Hey, Zach. Zach.
Hey, where's Zach?
Where you be? Where you at, buddy?
So, so in the top 5, I mean, I would really,
seriously, though,
great
where
intro.
Actually, where are you, Zach? I hope to see him come through that door.
Yeah, we're hoping that
like 3, 2, 1.
Beep, beep, beep. No, anyway.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about, our score. Do you want to jump right into score? I think we kind of went over nose and taste and finish.
We didn't really talk about, we talked a little bit about taste. I think the finish on this is, it's not short. It doesn't immediately dissipate, but
it's kind of short.
It's short, but it doesn't linger. It's not like gone.
Yeah.
It's not like, and
it's
gone.
No, we've had some
it's
lower
not like
tier.
Sip it and it's gone. It, it sticks around a little bit.
It
I'd get into scores.
No Kentucky Hug, by the way.
None. No. Again, very easy drinking.
So I was reading a few articles, and they were saying that good comparisons to this, outside of you mentioned Evan Williams, some people have mentioned Wilderness Trail, Larceny. Do you think that it falls in between any of those? Do you still think that this is kind of like that top tier, like I said, the dessert course of a budget tasting?
I'm upset. I'm sorry. I'm upset. That's how upset I am.
Satan.
I'm upset. Did you just say that you would compare the others? Not you, but you read that others would compare this to Maker's Mark and Larceny?
Yes.
Okay.
Or does it fall in that category? I think it's a valid question. Okay, that's.
And I think that whatever swill you were reading, whatever mud rag you were wiping your butt with, where this came up.
Wow.
This is an uninformed person who says, "Oh, Maker's Mark because it's made with red winter wheat." So this is also a wheated bourbon. Well, I'm sorry, these are 2 different kinds of wheat for 2 different kinds of effects. And Maker's Mark's makeup, these are very distinguishable. Not the same.
Yeah.
Larceny, same difference. They're going Larceny because it is a wheated bourbon.
Wheated
with an H.
Wheated.
I don't. When I taste this, I don't taste Larceny. Again, I think that there's much stronger oak character in both of those. Maker's Mark extraordinarily more spicy. This, no. I would say, as my friend from Kentucky, Alex Talent, would say, I think that I'd say that Weller comes from the Louisville side, where it's more Kentucky gentlemen, and Maker's Mark comes just south of Louisville, where they all go, Louisville, you can have them, where they're a little bit more roughneck.
Sure. Okay.
And I think Maker's Mark, while it is an expensive and it's well defined and a very classy bourbon, we like them. They do some very cool things. It strikes me more as a working man's bourbon, where Weller is definitely more of the I raise horses on blueberries.
I like that.
Okay.
Great analogy.
I don't know. That's all I'm saying. In the score realm, the nose is great. The taste is great.
Value.
The value is great.
Value is great.
This is a 91 out of 100 or a 9.1 out of 10 on the old scale. I'm giving it a 3 on nose, a 3 on value, and a 3 on taste.
So I'm going to say right now that's a very polarizing statement, because I think
know.
you've gone so high on that rating.
I told you, I love it. It's in my top 5.
A lot of people poo-poo this bottle. It's like 6 out of 10s, 4 out of 10s.
You know what? Listen, say no to taters, my friends. These are taters. These are taters. Tater haters. Thank you. Who are trying to tell you foolproof is so much better. Single
get off
barrel.
that.
Weller 12. Let me talk about Antique 107.
Actually, 107 is one of my favorites, but we'll get
It's
there.
good.
We'll get there.
Antique 107 is good. I'm not saying I hate it. But if you said, here's an Antique 107 or a Special Reserve, I'm going to pick Special Reserve. I just like it better. I think it's better representative of what it is. Antique 107 is its own thing, but this is a good and special bourbon, and again, one of my faves.
And I don't think we mentioned it. So again, 90 proof. I think we did say that.
90 proof, 45%.
4 to 7 year juice, by the way.
Oh, see, so we didn't talk about that.
We didn't talk about that. Yeah,
good.
And that kind of falls in line with what. And I don't want to get on this heated conversation right now, but it falls in line with my average that you should be paying as a price-conscious customer for, it should be what, $10 per year? So 4 to 7 year, a product should be anywhere from $40 to $70. Kind of falls in that price point of that.
Where I said I would cut it off around 70.
But
really,
that's what you should be paying. You should be paying about $10 per year. And I think it's a good average for whiskeys, bourbons, scotch.
Yep.
You know that if you're buying a product at MSRP, you want to pay about $10 per year, which is fair. And God, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but just be careful out there, guys, because MSRP has blown up.
Whiskeyflation.
Bars and not only like getting a pours have gotten more expensive.
As our friend Greg Manarino will tell you, whiskeyflation is a thing.
Whiskeyflation is a thing. And it's insane on how MSRP, don't let these distilleries, don't let these distilleries strong arm you guys into buying these bottles. And what I mean by that is don't let them raise these prices. Don't pay these prices. Don't stand for it, because what'll happen is you don't spend these prices and they end up lowering the price. But that's not what happens. You guys go out there and you buy it, you buy it, you buy it. Something you're just going to keep the price.
So what's your score?
My score, I'm going to give it. I'm in the 80s, and I've been trying to keep the conversation going because I'm having a hard time where I want to put it. Right.
Commit.
So I'm going to give it an 86.
That's great.
I think it's a B plus.
You're an 8.6 out of 10.
Right where I put it. I think it falls in line. To me, it's very reminiscent of other Weller products and very tasty.
All right, so take a look at this.
Okay.
And what I just noticed about the Weller bottle is that it basically is an upside down Glencairn.
Bravo.
You're welcome.
Great assessment.
Well, I don't know that we have anything else to add.
I think that really wraps up our review. Why don't you talk about
pinnacle? I mean, we hit the pinnacle.
That's it right there. Why don't you talk about what we have coming? Like what's
on deck? Thank you so much.
What is on deck for the
all right. So here's what's going on deck for the Barrel Buddies. Listen, we got 2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
We do, right around the corner.
So next week, I would like to try and have us do the wine show that never was.
We always talk about it. We need to do a wine show.
We owe you a wine show, everyone.
We're gonna work on that.
Okay.
And get a special guest, hopefully.
We're looking to do a wine show with a special guest. We got a
Yes.
couple in the wings here.
Yep.
We're going to talk wine. What wine to serve with your turkey? And then you'd think, why wouldn't we do this the Wednesday before Thanksgiving? Well, that's because we're going to give you wine advice the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving so that you can mess up your Drinksgiving and run out and buy wine. No.
We're going to help you.
Plenty of time to get this up.
We're going to recommend some bottles that you can go buy at the gas station.
Maybe. And then
Boone's Farm.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
Oh my God.
Kidding, but not kidding, because I'm gonna brown bag something and it's probably gonna be a Boone's Farm. But anyways, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Why not?
All right.
I haven't had a Boone's Farm probably in like 20 years. Why not? Let's see if they improved.
Do you want me to continue?
Sorry. Let's go ahead.
One more thing about Boone's Farm?
Nope.
Want to bring Mickey's?
Hey, Boone's Farm, if you'd like to sponsor the Barrel Buddies, please reach out to thebarrelbuddies@gmail.com.
No offense, I've always been more of an Indy 2020 guy myself. Anyways, we're burying the lead here because I am working on procuring a media kit for the Wednesday before the big release on Black Friday
of
Bourbon County.
OMG.
And for those of you that know anything about beer,
Bourbon Cat!
We got Bourbon County, which is coming out of Chicago, Illinois. Goose Island puts it out. It's a beautiful bourbon barrel-aged offering. There's a lot of cool ones. They're doing an Old Fitz bottle this year. I'm particularly excited about that, knowing that I love Old Fitz, a beautiful Heaven Hill product. So we're looking to do that. That's going to be pretty pumped. That's kind of what we're looking for. And then, of course, immediately following Thanksgiving, we've got holiday show offerings.
Oh,
we've got some pretty cool things coming. Don't forget the Nog Show. We're going to have...
The Nog Show's always...
The Nog Show's you got to have it, tradition. We've got the Bubble Show just before New Year's, a tradition. And then we're working on some other special things, maybe with a couple of Scotch offerings. You never know.
You never know.
So with that, look forward to it, and I think we're going to call it.
That's a wrap. For the Barrel Buddies, I'm James.
And I'm BJ. We'll